Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today's brief announcements. Tonight at 7 p.m. in the conference hall, there will be a panel discussion on parent-youth relations and challenges. Then tomorrow evening, OCS will be holding their annual gala at the Great Wolf Lodge. It's a sold-out event, but you can continue to support the school with your donations, inshallah. The seniors are offering yoga classes every Sunday at 10 a.m. For details and to sign up, please visit the booth outside. This is an open event to all sisters. Walk-ins are welcome. They'll be holding a special talk on estate planning and inheritance with attorney Ahmad Sheikh, and this will be on Sunday, April 15th, starting at 10 a.m. Save the date. The seniors invite you to a Saturday, April 28th event, Fajr breakfast. Tickets are $5 per person. Inshallah, we will pray Fajr, listen to Hadith, and then have a refreshing walk, and then enjoy a Mediterranean breakfast. This announcement is for ISOC members. The general body meeting this year will be held Sunday, June 3rd. You are encouraged to stop by the main office to update your membership and also to nominate eligible members for the Shura. Nomination forms are available in the office. Marriage Matters, an all-day talk on discussion on issues relating to ideal qualities in a spouse and the ways to sustain long-lasting, caring marriages. There will be a free promo talk on Friday evening, April 13th, and then a day-long program on Saturday, April 14th. Later that evening on April 14th, Shura Council will be hosting their annual banquet at the Hyatt Regency in Garden Grove. Please visit the website for complete details. And finally, a reminder, please keep our campus clean, especially when using the washrooms. And after prayer, if you have double parked, please remember to remove your vehicle immediately. And alhamdulillah, we are pleased to welcome guest Khatib Sheikh Mustafa Umar. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. صدق الله العظيم. أما بعد. We begin by praising Allah, our Creator, our Sustainer. We praise Him, we ask Him for His help in everything we do in this life, and we ask for His forgiveness for all the mistakes that we've made. As Muslims, we declare that nobody deserves to be worshipped besides Allah. And we declare that Muhammad was the last and final messenger that was sent for our guidance and for the guidance of all humanity until the end of time. Respected brothers and sisters, many of you use different messaging services. And if you think about the number of messages that are sent each and every single day, whether they be text messages, emails, WhatsApp, all sorts of other communications that people use, social media and non-social media, you find that there are, on average, they say there's like 50 messages per person sent in the entire world. More messages are being sent than there are people in the world today. So there's a lot of messages and there's a lot of communication. And this is a blessing from Allah. Some of you may use an app on your phone, it's called WhatsApp. This is just one medium of communication. A little while ago, I received, a few months ago, I received a forwarded video. And I get a lot of these forwarded videos. I'm sure some of you who use it, you get these videos on a regular basis. This video showed, I opened the video and I'm watching, one of my friends sent it to me, and the video showed a girl being burnt alive while a crowd of people surrounds her and watches her die, burning to death. And the caption on the bottom, it said, "This is a Hindu girl was burnt alive in Madhya Pradesh, the province in India, because she attended a Christian church." So what do we have here? Hindu girl being persecuted and being burnt alive because she attended a Christian church. And then it says, "Send this video around, please." So the video is requesting, the message is requesting you to send it to other people. And then to emphasize the point, it says, "This video must go viral." Now if you watch it, it's horrendous. If you look at what's happening and you think, you know what, if this is such a horrible thing, if this is what I'm supposed to do to somehow, compensate for whatever happened to her, let me go and do my part. The problem with this story and the problem with this video is that I did a little bit of research and I found out that this was not from 2018 or 2017. This incident was from 2015, and it was reported in the newspaper The Independent, which is a UK newspaper. It's better than most other newspapers. So they explained the video. They had the same video, but there was a real report on it. And the report said that this incident took place in Guatemala. Not India, in Guatemala. This girl was Christian because most of the people are Catholic, right, in that region of the world. She's not Hindu. There's no Hinduism coming into play. And what happened was she was part of a gang, and that gang had actually killed a taxi driver in one of the villages. And what's happening in Guatemala in 2015 is that there's too much police corruption. Right? And what happens is that people in small villages, they got sick and tired of gangs and drug dealers paying off the police so that their society would be damaged. So they started taking things in their own hands and they started fighting the gangs. And this is one girl, when a gang came and killed one of the taxi drivers, the gang escaped and she was the one that did not escape. So they went and they punished the gang member by burning her like this. Doesn't mean that it's justified, but a completely different context. There's nothing to do with Christianity. There's nothing to do with the church. There's nothing to do with India. Completely different part of the world. And when you read that first part of the email, the message that was sent to me, it not only says India, it not only says Hindu, it not only says Christian, but it even mentions the area, Madhya Pradesh, wherever that is. It's some province in India. It makes it seem like it's more real. But the entire thing was fake. And the person that sent it to me, who was a friend of mine, also got tricked into thinking that it was real, but it had nothing to do with anything. Now the reason why this is really important, this may not directly concern us. Misinformation is being spread, may not directly affect me. But this same type of misinformation is spread within the Muslim community about Islamic issues. And that concerns us even more, because it affects the way in which we deal with others, and it affects the way in which we practice Islam. So another message, because I'm an imam, a lot of people keep forwarding me all these messages and put me on all these groups. So it's fine, sometimes the messages are great. Sometimes the messages are not so great. So another message comes, and this is an email, comes and it says, here's a McDonald's store. And there's a sign in the McDonald's store which says, our coffee contains French fry grease, which may be derived from pork lard. We just wanted to let you know, sorry for the inconvenience. And I remember getting this message a while back, because the masjid where I am in Anaheim, our people, the people who come for Fajr prayer, one of their rituals is they go and drink coffee at McDonald's down the street on a regular basis. So they love their McDonald's coffee. So for them, this was like, oh wow, so there's pork in my coffee. Now we got a major problem. The only issue is, this entire thing was fake. So what happened is that someone took a picture of some random store, and what they did was, it's not difficult to do. You can use this on, you open up a word processor, Microsoft Word, you go to McDonald's website. I'm not teaching you how to fake emails, I'm just telling you how to see it, right? You go on their website, you right click on the image, you download the McDonald's logo, which is the official logo, you throw it on a sheet, and you print out this fake message, and you put it somewhere on a store, and you take a picture, and then you make up a story, and you start sending it to your friends. So easy. Anyone can do this. And this is exactly what happened, because this entire thing was fake. But what ends up happening is that when messages like this start getting sent around, there are some problems. Number one, there's going to be discussions within the community. Do we really have to stop drinking coffee from McDonald's? Maybe McDonald's is not the best thing for you anyways, but let's just assume that you like their coffee and there's nothing intrinsically wrong with their coffee. There's no French fry grease in there or something like that. It's going to create misinformation. It's going to cause people to become a little bit confused, and then people start getting concerned. And the emails like this go on a regular basis. Now, as Muslims, what do? We go back to the Quran. We go back to our Islamic sources. And we see, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us about this? He tells us in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hujurat, He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O you who believe. He's speaking specifically to the believers. إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا. Says that if someone who is unreliable or unknown, someone who's unreliable comes to you with some news or some information, فَتَبَيَّنُوا, meaning verify it, make sure it's accurate. Why? It continues. أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. He says, because if you don't, you might afflict a group of people out of ignorance, and then you will be regretful over what you've done. Meaning you might cause harm to a group of people because you did not verify the news or verify the information that came to you. So we have to be careful. So let's look at this in detail. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you who believe, if a fasiq comes to you." Now fasiq is normally, translated in technical terms as someone who's, a sinner, someone who's unreliable, someone you cannot depend on. But what about if it's someone who's your friend? You think they're reliable, you think you can depend on them. They send you something and they say, "Oh, I know Ali, Ali wouldn't lie to me." Or I know Maryam, Maryam wouldn't send something like that. Say, well, you know what? The reality is, where did that person get it? Did they just forward it along, or did they actually check and verify it themselves? So you have to go all the way back to the source. And you say, okay, you go back to the source. What did Yusuf send me? Oh, Yusuf sent me something, but who sent it to Yusuf? You go back and you check and you say, maybe they did not verify. Maybe they did not actually look to see who is, originating this entire, thread or this message. So you go back and you look. So when Allah is telling us is that if someone who's either unreliable or some source that is unknown, you don't know who actually originated this message or wrote it or reported it or whatever, then you need to verify it even more. There's more likelihood that you need to verify it. And then it says, if you don't do it, أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا, that you might hurt a group of people. The people who you send it to, you will hurt them, right? How will you hurt them? You will hurt them because you're spreading ignorance, and that ignorance can either harm them directly or it can indirectly harm them. Now you think about this. Think about the idea of how this affects our community on a greater level, on a deeper level. The first thing that it does, and I'm telling you from direct feedback that I'm getting from community members, the first thing that it does is people who send these messages very quickly, people come and they say, you know, why, they say, why are Muslims so gullible? And it's not a Muslim problem, it's a human problem. But what they do is they say, you know what, my parents send these things out, my uncles and my aunts, they just forward all these things, and I'm tired of this. And when I verify it, it's totally wrong. And they just keep on sending this stuff. And what ends up happening is we already have this generation gap. And what ends up happening is the respect level starts to go down. And they start questioning the ability of this group of people. People who are maybe a little bit elder, they start questioning their ability to be role models or to be mentors because they're making significant mistakes like this. And then they start questioning, they say, well, if they're sending me this misinformation on things like this, imagine what else was not taught to me correctly. And that becomes really dangerous, because when you lose trust in people you're supposed to take as your mentors, right, for the most part, then we have a major crisis on our hands. So that's one reason why it becomes so significant and becomes so dangerous. The second is that if someone who is considered to be an authoritative figure, right, also does that, they lose credibility. Similar. If they lose credibility, then they're not going to listen to you on all the other things that you're saying as well. So that's the harm that could potentially be there. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and He says, بِجَهَالَةٍ. You may have a good intention. You say, look, this is not my fault. I can't verify every single video that comes, but if it looks good, I'll send it over. What's wrong with that? Say, what's wrong with it is you're doing it out of ignorance. You're not intentionally trying to do something wrong, but you have to look at the effect that it's going to have. You may have a good intention, say, well, it looked kind of real, it looked good, but what if it was wrong? What type of message would you be sending to other people? And how could they potentially be harmed? That would become a very serious problem. So we have to be careful about that. And then it says, فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. You might end up regretting the long-term consequences of what you've done because of the things that you've done. So we have to be extremely careful. So we have messages like this being sent around on a regular basis. Among the messages that I keep receiving, I'll just share a few of them. One of them, I talked about coffee at McDonald's. Another one says that there's pork inside ketchup in South Africa. Another one says such and such thing is not forbidden. So when it comes to food, people then start going, is that really true? Does that apply everywhere? What do we do? Well, someone needs to investigate it. And there are councils and there's ways you can actually double check to see if it's valid or not. Then you have another one. Another one was a chain mail, an email that has been going around for I think at least the last 15 years. And I keep getting this. I think I got it in 2005, and then I got it again in 2010, and I got it again in like 2017. It just goes around the world, forward, and then it like comes back around. So this message was, some of you probably got this actually. This message was, it says in New York City, they are building a structure that looks exactly like the Kaaba. And it's going to be a bar and a nightclub, and they're calling it the Kaaba bar or the Kaaba nightclub or the Mecca bar or something like that. And you look at the picture and it's a real picture. It's not a fake picture. It's a real picture. You can see the streets, you can see it's New York, and you can see the construction, and you see the black boards. It looks exactly like the Kaaba, like a small representation or almost the same as the Kaaba. And they put a thing and they said, look at this insult. They're trying to insult our religion. And this message goes out exactly like right after some political statement that the president had made or something like that. So we start burning inside as Muslims, rightfully so. You're like, look at these people, Islamophobia is on the rise and look what they're creating and all of that. But then what happens is, if you go and do a little research, you check the cross streets, and you go and you find out what this actually was, it was an Apple store. It was an Apple store for Apple products, iPhones and all of that. What was happening? Well, Apple likes to have these cool looking stores, right? They're into this style. So what ends up happening is that they go and they decide that they're going to make a glass structure that looks cubic shape. But Apple's a very secretive company. They don't like to reveal, and then they like to reveal everything. They like take the cover off of it and they're like, voila, look at what we have. So they boarded up the structure while they were building the inside of the store because they didn't want anyone to see that it's going to be brand new glass structure. And then the boards came off, and it's been an Apple store for the last, 10 years or something like that. It's one of the very prominent stores. It's in New York. But somebody, we don't know who, may Allah guide them, somebody made this fake email, right? Either mistakenly or they added a little, spice, into the story or whatever, and they made up this story to appeal to Muslims to think that, somehow someone is building a Kaaba in order to make us, vexed and make us upset and just burning inside, and we're going to go do something about it. So what is their call to action? At the end of the email, what is their call to action? Forward this to as many Muslims as you can, or forward this to 10 people. Otherwise, Allah is going to hold you accountable on the Day of Judgment. We should not be blackmailed into these type of things, because two things. Number one, first verify if it's true, and number two, see if your action is actually going to result in some real positive effects. Like, is this really going to help you? Or is it going to lead to, email, phone addiction more in your life than anything else? I mean, is there actually going to be some benefit that comes around by you forwarding this around? So we have to ask ourselves these questions, and we have to think about these things, and we have to be a little bit more critical. And one of the ways in which we can do it, I'm going to even teach you a technique to ensure whether these things are real or not real. They're not always where you can check. This is what our scholars used to do when people would fabricate hadith. They would have verification mechanisms, and they would investigate, and they would double check and everything. So one of the things you can do is, if you receive a message like this, and it's probably been going around for some time, one of the things you do is you highlight a part of that message. So for example, the first story that I mentioned, it says Hindu girl burnt alive in Madhya Pradesh, whatever. You take one snippet of the text that you receive, whether it's in a WhatsApp or whether it's in an email, and you put it into a search engine. And the search engine will show you certain websites like Snopes or Break the Chain, and they will go and they've already done the research for you to tell you if this email has any validity, or if it's fake, when it was fabricated, when it started to be sent out. It's not a difficult thing nowadays with technology. We can search. You shouldn't really use like Sheikh Google for Islamic answers, but when it comes for verifying or basic fact checking, you can do a lot. So you take a snippet of that email, throw it into a search engine, or go to Snopes.com or go to Break the Chain or one of these other research sites, and they will tell you, because they've been archiving these things, they will tell you when did this start, what is the real story behind it, how true is it, what level of accuracy it is, and it'll give you a little bit more insight. They're not always perfect, but it'll give you some insight. We should do that before we go ahead and we forward something over, because this keeps on happening again and again. We find people taking footage from one war, and they say, look what happened, this is what's happening in Syria, but then later on you find out, oh, that was footage from Afghanistan. Yes, it applies, still people are being killed, the footage is good, but you're still spreading misinformation. So we should be cautious when it comes to all these things. And we should not fall into that trap where we feel like we're being blackmailed about these type of things. The last thing I'll talk about is that, what if you receive some message that's against Islam? It's anti-Islam, but it's true. It's verified. This has really happened. Someone made a website and they're insulting the religion of Islam. They're insulting one of our prophets. Someone made a website, they're insulting the masjid, or they're insulting the Muslim community. What should we do with that? See, the first reaction that many people have is, they'll take that and they'll start forwarding it, forward it to all your friends. We need to let everyone know that there's this anti-Islamic website or there's this anti-Islamic Facebook page, and everyone should know about it. For what? Why does everyone need to know about it? Two harms will come out of this mentality. The first harm is that there may be things on there which will confuse some people, so you go and you start reading, and you're not prepared, you don't have a very good Islamic education, you didn't go to, this OCS school or, California Islamic University or some other school where you have good, solid Islamic knowledge. So what you do is, you start reading, and you're like, oh, that's wrong, oh, that's wrong, oh, that's wrong. You read the fifth one, you're like, I don't know how to respond to that argument. And now it becomes confusion for you. Now you become, this is what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people, they think they know their Islam really well. And they go, I'm going to go to those anti-Islamic websites and I'm going to prove them all wrong. And you go there and you see 10 arguments and you can answer 9 arguments, but you can't answer the 10th one. And then that 10th one becomes a doubt in your mind. And you would have been better off had you actually utilized that time in learning more about your deen anyways in the first place. Because you could build a more solid foundation. So this is number one mistake that people make. Don't go and spread those websites so you can just go and people can read it. Number two is that you have to understand that anyone can make a website. Anyone can go and make a Facebook post, right, or a Facebook page, and they could start it up. But you have to pay big money to get people to come to your website. You need hits to get to your website or to get to your page. And that's what all these advertising things are. You use, search engine optimization, and you hire, companies, and they go and they help, get traffic to your website. Otherwise, no one cares about your website. Everyone has a website nowadays. It's a piece of cake to make. You can make it in 2 minutes. So what do? If someone goes and makes an anti-Islamic website, you let it die naturally. Don't spread the message out. Don't send the link to everyone so they get more hits, and they get more visitors, and they get more of all of these things, and this is one of the mistakes. This is something that's been going on for a long time. I took this point, one of the brothers in the audience, Brother Khalid Beg, he wrote an article on this a long time ago, about 10 years ago. And he was saying this same thing, exactly the same thing. He was saying that don't give them extra hits, because the more hits they get, the more prominent they become. The more search engine, searches will go to their page. So instead, you may have the right intention. Again, bijahalatin. You may have the right intention, but you're doing exactly the wrong thing. And the reality is, we live in a digital world today. All of us interact with these technologies. All of us get messages from different people, and we need to become more developed. We need to become more mature in how we deal with the messages that we receive. And the only way to do that is to follow the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our sins. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in wisdom. Ameen. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'iril muslimin. Fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. So just to recap what we talked about today, people receive different videos, different messages through all sorts of communications means, WhatsApp, Facebook, email, SMS, and we need to make sure that the messages that we get, before we start forwarding them around or before we even start believing in them, if it's something that you were mistaken or you're wrong about, if it's going to affect someone, then you need to make sure to verify it before sending it over. And if it's something that you think it's not such a big deal on an individual level, still, if it turned out to be wrong, would your credibility, would your respectability of the person you sent it to, if they found out that it was wrong, would it go down? And if the answer is yes, it would go down, then you should rethink whether or not you want to send it. Because it will affect your reputation and authority and ability to serve as a mentor for others is something that we're living in a very, a chaotic time where people need role models, but they don't trust in role models. They don't trust in authority figures, especially in more liberal societies. There's more of a tendency to rebel against sometimes good things, but then you sometimes rebel against bad things as well. So keep all of this in mind. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and guide us at all times. Oh Allah, Help those people who are going through difficulties and those who are suffering around the world. O Allah, help us to help them in practical and in beneficial ways. O Allah, help us to be the best Muslims we can be. Show us the truth as truth and help us to follow it. Show us the false as false and keep us away from it. O Allah, help all those people who are dealing with challenges, who need shifa. Brother Zishan Khamisani, Brother Javed Siddiqui, Muhammad Abu Umar, Qasim Al-Umari, Adam Mezhar, and Brother Muhammad Ali. O Allah, give each and every single one of them shifa, a full cure that does not leave any illness or disease left. Allah, help us and guide us at all times and in all things we do. Ameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa aqim as-salah. And we will be having a janazah after the prayer is done.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Still wa'tadilu. Please make sure your line is straight, shoulder to shoulder. Let's not leave any gaps in between. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. We also have a dua for Sister Murshid Jahad Chaudhry. She was diagnosed with cancer. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her a speedy recovery. Brother Mahmoud Ali, he passed away, and there will be a burial for him in Westminster Memorial, the cemetery, inshallah, right here. And I think the janazah is going to be coming, right? It's here, okay, inshallah. We pray now? Okay, so let's stand up, inshallah. We're going to make janazah prayer. Janazah prayer is the funeral prayer. For those of you who need a quick recap, there's no bowing, there's no prostration in this prayer. We're going to start with takbir, saying Allahu Akbar. And you can say Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, what you say in the beginning of the prayer normally, or you could recite Surah Al-Fatiha. We're going to say Allahu Akbar, and then you send prayers upon the Prophet, peace be upon him, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Then you say Allahu Akbar again, and then you make dua, supplication for the deceased. And then one last Allahu Akbar, and then we conclude with 2 salams, inshallah. Just make sure, you can move forward because there's no sajda in this, so don't worry about the line, just make sure the lines are straight. You won't need space to bend down, inshallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam. Tabarakta Rabbana ya dhal jalal wa ikram. Oh Allah, forgive this brother, accept all the good deeds that he has done, and forgive him and overlook all the mistakes that he has made. Oh Allah, make it easy for his family. Oh Allah, forgive all those believers who have passed away. Oh Allah, have mercy on all of them and have mercy on all of us. Help us and guide us at all times and in all things we do. Ameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to thank our Khatib for today, Sheikh Mustafa Umar, for coming and giving a beautiful khutbah. May Allah bless him. He is the president of CIU, California Islamic University. And if you have double parked, please do move your cars. This is on behalf of the Islamic Society, Orange County. Thank you.